Hello class, in this brief video you will be given information as to how to be successful in writing the Module 2 assignment Healthy Lifestyle Assessment. This assignment is worth 200 points or 20% of your grade, and basically what it is looking at is we're looking at a community or a geographical area where you will do an assessment. Just as if you're using the nursing process, you're going to assess the area and then continue to assess that area for different pieces. So my first suggestion is to find a geographical area, meaning a community, a county, area where there's a fair amount of buildings, opportunities for a healthy living lifestyle, and assess that area. For an example, you could choose an area around Salt Lake City. You could choose Salt Lake City. You could choose an area where you grew up, where you might want to move. My suggestion is that you keep it is usually easier in this assignment to keep it local or an area where you have been. Sometimes in the past, we've had students use the internet to explore a country such as Africa and Argentina, and it's just too big of an area really to meet the criteria for this assignment. So please try and keep it small, and again, familiar is usually a good idea. So once you've identified where you're going to assess, then please explain why you decided to choose this area. That would be your introduction. And before I go on to the next steps, I would like to say I would suggest, and I'll show you an example of a paper at the end, of using your areas or your 5 criteria here as your main headings for the paper, or you could use one main heading and then a second level heading in the APA format. But that way you cover all the areas, and usually it's just a good guideline so you don't miss one of the criteria. Excuse me. So the first thing you've done is you found your area, and that's a good thing to have a nice area and a lot of opportunities that you can assess in that area. Then the next thing you will do is look at what's available in that area to promote a healthy lifestyle. What can I do if I live in this area to stay healthy? And these are the criteria you should look at: physical activity, nutrition, health screening, social activities, immunization, and educational opportunities as it relates to safety and healthy lifestyle practices. And in your assessment, you include both public, private, and educational. So that's a big portion of this paper. So an example of a physical activity would be parks or recreation areas or hiking. It could also include gyms or ski areas, anything that promotes some type of physical activity. The difference between the two is one is public and one might be private. So you'll go down your list here and address each one of these. Again, just in this area here, you can really just assess what's available because you will discuss in this area the cost. So you're looking at what's all available to promote healthy living lifestyles in the second criteria. In the third criteria then, all these areas that you've just assessed, are they open to the public? Do they require membership? If so, how much? Many of the membership requirements you can find on the internet. It's not that you have to physically go to a place. You can usually look up a gym and see how much it costs. If you're looking at educational opportunities, are they free? Is a hospital offering them, or is a college offering them, or is there a cost involved? So that dovetails right into your assessment. All these areas that you assessed, are they free or are they available, and how can the public access them? Then we want to look at vulnerable populations, and included in this population is elderly, people with disabilities, and you could use others, homeless, people with a financial barrier. If you think you have another category, please feel free to add. And what you want to do in this area is look to see how your assessed areas are they available to these people. One example is people with disabilities. If you've assessed a park or a hiking trail or something in that category, can people with disabilities access that trail? If it's a park, do they have wheelchair access to the swings? So look at that and see what is available to people with disabilities or the elderly or financial in this area. Finally, in your conclusion, you're going to first do two things in this conclusion. You're going to summarize what you talked about, and then you're going to talk about the populations that did have limited access in this area. So that's part of that. The paper is to be 3 to 5 pages, and that does not include the title page or the reference page. It must be in a Word document, so please make sure that you're formatting it and submitting it correctly. And please remember that you are responsible for the correct document to be submitted at the time of submission. So always check after you submit it if it's the correct document. Occasionally people have submitted their template or something else, and we don't catch it until Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, the late policy does take effect. So you don't want to lose points because of that. We'd like you to include a minimum of 2 references. You can use the internet and websites to grab information about your assessed area, but also include a scholarly reference, something from LIRN, a nursing journal that relates to your paper. And then again, make sure you're using good grammar and spelling. You should all have Grammarly on your computer. It is free of charge through Eaglegate, and that's just a great way to make sure that there are no spelling or grammar errors. So again, here is your rubric, and these how you should divide up your paper. Make sure that when you're using a rubric, you always answer everything that's in this listed criteria. That way, you have a very good opportunity to gain all of the points. So make sure you're doing that. I think it's always a good idea to print out a rubric and it's sitting right next to you, because that way you're not missing anything. So basically, that is how you go ahead and write this paper. I'm going to bring up an example of this paper. Now, remember, do not use this paper that we're supplying for you as a template, because it will come up and turn it in as plagiarism, and we don't want that to happen. So if you notice, this paper is now formatted in the APA 7th edition, and what you do notice is the running head is missing. I'm sure that will make you all very happy, but there still is a page number. And then please remember to follow the format of this paper here. Why isn't this not going down? Okay, there we go. So here is a good example of how the headings are being used in the paper. And then the assessment to talk about the different areas that were listed on the rubric. And you'll see this because I am going to include this. And then the next one is availability for all populations. And finally, the vulnerable populations. And then the conclusion. And then your reference page. So we will include this in this recording, and you may use it as an example. Please let us know if you have any questions. Put those questions in questions for instructor, because you might have the same question as someone else, and that way we can answer it for everyone. And again, we're here to help you, so let us know if you do have a question, or if you have a question about your area. Please feel free to email us. We will be happy to answer.